What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily, and in this video, we are checking out the new Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. Now, if we're being honest here, this is basically a Samsung Note device in every way but the name. It's got the built-in S Pen, curved display, rounded edges, and boxy form factor. Unlike the previous S Ultras, this new one doesn't resemble the rest of the S series lineup really at all. And if you were sad about the unofficial death of the Note series last year, I think this device will fill that void. So I'm going to go over everything you need to know about the new S22 Ultra. I'll break down the features and specs that make this phone stand out. I'll go over the S Pen, of course, and some of its features. But first things first, let me just quickly show you the unboxing experience here so you can see what comes inside the package when you buy one. Just like the other S series phones this year, and following the last few years of releases, this S22 Ultra ships inside Samsung's slim little box with minimal packaging, and as I'm sure you can guess, that means we once again don't get a whole lot inside. Slicing through the stickers and pulling off the lid, the first thing we see is the phone itself, of course. I obviously got mine in burgundy, but it's also available in black, white, green, graphite red, and blue, some of those being Samsung exclusive colors. Besides that, the only other thing in the box is that familiar Samsung branded packet, which has the SIM ejector tool on the outside and holds the quick start guide and a USB-C cable for charging. And that's it. No other goodies or accessories included with this Ultra phone, and no replacement S Pen tips either, like some previous Note devices had. So with all that stuff out of the way, here is the new S22 Ultra once again. And being the top S series device, you can expect a hefty price tag here. This phone starts at $1,200 this year, but between Samsung's trade-in offers and free gifts, and plenty of carrier deals going on right now, I think you can avoid paying full price for this phone pretty easily. And if you are in the market for an S22 Ultra, or any other device really, I would highly recommend checking out Navi, who were kind enough to sponsor this video. Navi is a shopping tool designed specifically for smartphones. They make it super easy to find all the best deals all in one place. Their phone navigator service scans thousands of different promotions to find you the best price for the smartphone you want. You can search for a particular device, like this S22 Ultra for example, or you can take a short quiz, pick what smartphone features you like, and Navi will recommend a few different smartphones based on your preferences. Navi will then show you the best prices currently available for that device from all the major retailers. You can see carrier deals as an existing customer, or if you're willing to switch. You can also see who will pay the most for your current phone as a trade-in, and if you find a deal you like, Navi will take you right to it without having to do any more searching. If you don't find the right deal, Navi can also notify you later on when prices go down, so you can continue to stay informed. Navi is free to use, and honestly one of the best resources that I've found to help save you money on your smartphone purchase. Check it out at yournavi.com or click the link in the video description to give it a try. So like I mentioned earlier, the new S22 Ultra more closely resembles any given Note device over the last couple of years than the current S series lineup it's a part of. At 6.8 inches, it's undoubtedly the biggest phone out of the bunch. Just for fun, here's what it looks like next to the regular sized S22, and you can see that this phone offers a sharper, more rectangular form factor from top to bottom. It also has those sloping curved glass edges again. There's a tiny bit of a top and bottom bezel that's more obvious than the sides. Altogether, this phone is pushing greater than a 90% screen to body ratio, but this is a particular design and form factor that I think is a little more polarizing. I know not everyone likes the curved display edge, for example, or the sharp corners. You can really see the difference when we look more closely at the regular S22 again. Obviously, just totally different form factors, especially with how rounded the S22 Ultra is. And this is what I mean when I say the S22 Ultra this year just isn't consistent with the other two S22s, or previous S Ultra phones. This phone looks exactly like a Note. It's shaped like a Note. If you had a Note device, you know what I'm talking about, but if you haven't, you might be surprised by the design and form factor. The phone itself, though, is super premium. The glass back has returned on these Samsung phones, super nice polished aluminum frame. This burgundy color I think is closer to purple than red, but I think it still looks nice. And in the hand, this is obviously a massive device. It's thick, it's heavy, the sides are very sharp, the curved edge is a factor. There's no top-heavy camera module though, which is good, but based on its size and the use of the S Pen 2, this is certainly more of a two-handed phone. Taking a quick look around at everything else, on the left side, nothing really there. On the right, you have your volume buttons, power button, and a 5G antenna. Down at the bottom, the built-in S Pen, of course, alongside the speaker and USB-C charge port. You'll also see the SIM card tray down there as well. No SD card support, which I think is a miss on this phone. And just FYI, there's a second small mic hole, I believe, right next to the pinhole for the SIM tray, so watch out for that. Try not to stick anything in the wrong hole down there. Bit of a poor design choice. Selfie camera up front, of course, secondary speaker in the earpiece as well, and around back, just a ton of camera stuff, which I'll go over in just a minute. So let's talk about the S Pen, since I think that's one of the main reasons you'd consider this phone. Unlike the S21 Ultra last year, this S Pen is built right into the phone, in the familiar spot like a Note device. It has a spring-loaded top that helps you pop it out, and the pen itself looks fairly similar to previous built-in S Pens, but it is smaller and slimmer than the S21 Ultra's S Pen add-on. It has a sharp, firm tip that doesn't seem to be replaceable, side button for those additional functions and controls, and the whole pen itself has like a very subtle, light, rubbery feel for some added grip. Those of you who are familiar with the Note series will recognize pretty much all of the features, apps, and abilities you get when utilizing the S Pen. Now, if you want to just use the S Pen as sort of an extension of your finger to tap and swipe your way through the phone, of course, you can still do that. But the S Pen specific apps and features here are really what makes this setup unique. There's Notes, of course, Smart Select, Screen Write, Live Messages, AR Doodle, Translate, the Pen Up app, and you can of course customize this shortcut menu to add any apps, S Pen specific or not, for you to quickly access. And you can also download other non-Samsung apps to use with the S Pen if you want. What makes Samsung's S Pen setup different than, say, a Moto G stylus, for example, or an off-brand third-party stylus you might buy, is that the pen is made for the phone, and vice versa. The S Pen is once again a Bluetooth-connected device, and combined with an updated display that delivers a much faster response time and less latency, the writing experience on this phone is about as good as it gets. There's almost no separation between the pen tip and the line on the screen, pressure sensitivity and tilting, and if you're big into handwriting your notes, Samsung also improved its AI prediction technology to improve written-to-text notes. All in all, I'm really excited to once again have a dedicated device made specifically for the S Pen. Given the popularity of the Moto G stylus and the Note series in general, there definitely seems to be a market for stylus smartphones still. I think Samsung realized that too, and they probably also realized that it makes more sense to sort of combine the Ultra and the Note series together now, since they basically started blurring the line anyway last year. Aside from the S Pen, one of the other big reasons to consider the S22 Ultra this year is its display. This is a top-tier, no-compromise screen setup in every way imaginable. We already know it's big, 6.8 inches. It's also a dynamic AMOLED 2X display with HDR10+ support, but it has a trifecta of other standout features too. Variable LTPO 120Hz refresh rate that can now range between 1 Hz and 120 for maximum efficiency. There's a QHD resolution option, 3080 by 1440, cramming in some 500 pixels per inch, and a peak brightness of some 1750 nits, with additional brightness boosting options if you need it. The display on this phone simply goes above and beyond to offer you everything you could possibly want, and maybe some things you didn't even know you wanted for your viewing experience. It's a few steps ahead of the standard S22 phones, to say the least. And if the screen is what's most important to you, I don't know that you'll find a better, more capable, more feature-packed setup than this. The S22 Ultra this year is of course powered by the latest and greatest specs. You'll either get the new Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, like I have here, or Samsung's Exynos 2200, 8 or 12 gigs of RAM, depending on your configuration option, and 128, 256, 512, or 1 terabyte of storage. Lots of options there. Now, as good as those specs seem to be, I have two thoughts in particular. My first consideration is just how these new processors are going to fare with optimization, both with battery life and as you open dozens and dozens of apps and use some graphics-heavy games and other stuff. The benchmark tests show that this obviously is a very powerful chipset, but there's always some concern in how a new setup performs in the real world. And also, compared to previous Ultra phones, the configuration options, particularly with the RAM, aren't maybe as ultra as previous years. You can get some game gaming phones nowadays, for example, that are cheaper than this, that offer more RAM. And Samsung used to offer 12 gigs standard, with the option to spec up to 16. Maybe they felt like that was overkill, maybe there's just more emphasis on the processor, but either way, comparing Samsungs to Samsungs, some specs have been downgraded with this Ultra phone versus years past. And comparatively, just spec-wise, these are the same internals as you get on the regular S22 and S22 Plus, besides the 12 gig RAM option. So altogether, I don't know that the internal specs in general are what makes this Ultra phone stand out compared to the other S22s as much anymore. Also, powering this big phone is a pretty good sized 5000 milliamp battery. Now, I say good sized because while the capacity is larger than the rest of the S22s, this phone obviously has a lot more stuff to power. Much bigger display with a higher resolution option and higher brightness potential. I'm pretty interested to see how those variables will impact day-to-day usage, but like I mentioned already, I'm also looking to see how the new processor optimizes everything as well. And just as a side note, the S22 Ultra does offer 45 watt fast charging, 15 watt wireless charging, and reverse wireless charging as well, so all the power features are here. Finally, the last sort of pillar that makes the Ultra stand out, of course, is its ridiculous camera setup. This year, around back, we get a 108 megapixel main lens with laser autofocus, a 10 megapixel periscope telephoto lens, a secondary 10 megapixel telephoto lens, and a 12 megapixel 120 degree ultra wide lens. The selfie camera is also a standout spec, 40 megapixel f2.2 aperture shooter. Now there's a lot to unpack here with the camera capabilities, and I'll be sure to give this setup a rigorous test with some comparisons here soon to other phones and in my full review. But I think as a whole, if you're looking for the most capable, most extreme, and most robust camera setup out there, this is pretty much it. Not only is it capable, but it's also much improved from last year's Ultra in more ways than one, both with just your average everyday picture and video taking, and with also some more specific things. The super zoom, for example, to me looks even more capable than before. And taking some quick sample shots here out of the box, the phone really delivers some good looking selfie pictures and amazing pictures with the rear lens setup too. This sort of setup is probably far beyond what a lot of people can fully utilize in their daily smartphone usage, but at the same time, it is absolutely still what makes this S22 Ultra the top tier device in this lineup. And for some folks, it is absolutely worth it. All in all, the S22 Ultra is, in a lot of ways, still the super capable, feature-packed, top-tier flagship phone that Samsung has offered us these past few years. But it's also basically a Note device too, given its unique form factor and built-in S Pen support. I'm glad to see a Note-like device return from Samsung. I think there's a market for it for sure, and I can't wait to use this device in the coming weeks to see what it's capable of. But what do you guys think of the new S22 Ultra? Is it a phone you're considering right now? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to know your thoughts, of course. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.